expectations versus reality of becoming a first-time parent. So the first expectation was that when I first started my parental leave, that it was going to be a bit of a break from work and, a good time to catch up with some quality one-on-one time with my family. Now, the reality was that parental leave wasn't much of a break, especially being a first parent, navigating, having a baby, and everything that comes with that. Like, nothing can really prepare you for it. And how it took me off guard was because I went from working, which I think I have quite a stressful, high demand job, but there's systems in place, there's operation procedures. So anything you do, there's a way to do it. There's like a routine and structure that was missing as soon as I was a stay-at-home parent. And I'm sure as they get older, the structure develops a bit more being a stay-at-home parent, but the early years, having a baby was quite a challenge in the fact that I went from knowing how to do everything, even if it's like difficult things, and having like a procedure, a method, and also a routine to work with. And that was all kind of thrown out the window. And I think it's like no joke being a stay-at-home parent. And one thing I realized, I'm doing this with my partner, and we always say imagine being a single parent. So hats off to all the single parents out there. You're doing an amazing job. It must be so difficult. It's difficult doing it with two people. So the first expectation versus reality was thinking that I was going to have a wonderful time on parental leave, which I have, but I thought it was going to be a break from work, where I think this was harder than work. It was more challenging. There was less structure, there was less routine, and there was no systems in place. So we're kind of like trial by fire. You're doing this on your own, not on your own, but there's no, boss or supervisor that's going to make sure you're doing it in the right way. It's me and my wife all figuring out on our own. Obviously we have support by family, but you don't know until you know. Expectation 2 was that I was going to be a minimalist parent, and that I joked to my wife that my kid was going to have those wooden toys and stuff, because we live in a beautiful part of the world and our nature and surroundings is very ideal for, in my mind, a kid to grow up with. There's a national park just 300 meters over where we walk. Our town's beautiful, surrounded by trees, and I guess my idea was not having thousands of toys and stuff for them to play with, but to focus on the things that we value. So we've always said that we would have a larger book collection than we have our TV, and I think that's accurate. It's just not well organized at the moment, and that's how I guess we wanted to raise our boy. But it doesn't take long just for stuff to accumulate, and especially because you want to be prepared. Sometimes with the baby, they only are using or needing the 0 to 3 month stuff, but you want to be prepared buying the 3 to 6 months things next, and then 6 to 12 month stuff, and you just want to be prepared. So stuff accumulates. People want to be nice, they want to buy presents as well, so you just end up getting all these toys. We have a lot of fluffy toys, this one's really cute and I like it, but it just starts to accumulate. And I think we are quite minimalist still, and we are still focusing on quality things, but it just adds up really fast, even if you are mindful of it. We are very mindful of it, and I can imagine that some people would just their house would shift, and that was the expectation, that our living room has his bouncer and it has his little play mat, and it's just, life is different. Things will accumulate, and that's just how it's going to be. Even if you are very mindful and restricting how much stuff you're bringing in, I think it's really important. And the shift that I had is just making sure the stuff that you value. So even though we have a toy set that we got gifted, it's 3 years plus, so it's going to be sitting in there for a while, but it's a good present to bring out later. Just make sure the things that you do accumulate are things that you enjoy. So his book collection is starting to look as big and healthy as ours. Other things are his bouncer and his playmat, things that are actually gonna making him be active. We've also got soft toys, which is something that we thought is cute and it's nice to have around. So just making sure that when stuff accumulates, that you just be mindful of what you want to keep, how long you're going to keep it for, and knowing that you will naturally have things in advance, and that's all right. You're parents now, and things are starting to look a little bit different around the house, and that's just a part of it. And it's good to embrace it, and it's good for your kids to grow up with a bit of stuff around. It's not the worst. It's not the worst thing. So don't beat yourself up about it if you're collecting a bit more things than normal. It's not a bad thing. It's something that we can be grateful for. So expectation 3 versus reality was that the house would look different. It was kind of built into the last one that I didn't want to have a lot of stuff. I wanted to be more minimalist and not focusing on material things raising the kid, but stuff accumulates and the house looks different. So that was kind of reality versus expectation that we had on ourselves. Is we bought like a new rug as our baby was 2-3 months, and it's just got messy, and it's good. Like on reflection, we can see that it's getting dirty and it's been walked on, but it's because we have like a loved for and caring house. It's being used, our animals, our dog, our cat, us, we're walking on it, and sometimes it gets dirty because we go for like walks and we just forget to take our shoes off before we take a step on it. But like sometimes it gets dirty is the point, and it's good because it's a lived in home. Like it's something to be proud of. It's just a bit of an adjustment. Reality, you think you're going to have a nice showroom house, but when you become a parent, you're making the sacrifice that you're now having a more lived in, loved for home. So that's a bit of a shift. You're not going to have like a display house anymore, and you're going to have more just a lived in home. Our living room at the moment, it's got his play mats, his bouncer on the floor. I've got like my dumbbells there because I'm not working out, and I'm just whatever little bit I can do, I try to take advantage of. But it's a very lived in space, and it just changes. Like our kitchen is always full. We always got stuff to wash. Now he's starting to eat solids. It's just adding into the cutlery and stuff that we're accumulating, especially washing. Like it's just normal. We have a much more lived in home, but it's a good thing. It's a blessing. We have another beautiful person added to this family, and it's just helped us grow as a family. So it's a blessing, but it's a change. Like you're not gonna have the clean showroom house. It's gonna be a constant work in progress of trying to tidy, trying to clean, picking up toys, doing dishes, doing washing. It was already like that. Like that's already part of living and life, but the maintenance cycle is definitely increased, and it's just accepting and realizing that how grateful we are to have a lived in home. Expectation versus reality part 4 was that getting into the end of the pregnancy journey and early stages of having a newborn was that everything's going to be really difficult having a baby, which it was, but it was going to be hard to manage my own health and fitness. And I started to see a decline towards this period, around when my child was born and probably heading into the 2nd, 3rd month, was that I was in the worst shape of my life, or the heaviest I've been anyway. And I guess it was easy to make excuses. And what happened probably around that 3-month mark is I started to get a lot more interactions from my baby. He's growing up, he's starting to smile, he's starting to look, he's getting heavier. That was another thing. And he needs more engagement. It was less about having a 1 to 3 month old that is so reliant on their mum. We were like breastfeeding, or my partner was breastfeeding, I wasn't, but it made it a little bit more dependent on mum. I was changing diapers whenever I could, but there wasn't that interaction with me as heavily. And what I found was when he was older, I wanted to react, he wanted to move, he's starting to roll. I realized I have to be here physically and healthy as long as I can for him, but I also need to be the best version of me. And there was that big shift where in reality, I've competed in like martial arts and fitness, but this has been the most purpose driven that I've had for my health and fitness journey, and more of a longevity, long standing being healthy and fit, not just like a goal to compete. This is like, I'm going to be here as long as I can. I want to be here as long as I can. I want to be able to not limit or restrict my kid developing because I can't do certain physical things with them. and it was a big change. And now I'm like back on my health journey, trying to be as conscious as like eating healthy, trying to, if I'm doing anything that encourages a healthy life, it's in view of him and being able to model that with him. So I can see how it can go the other way. I can see how, like, me and my partner, the year before we conceived our baby and started to realize we're going to be parents, we did 3 half marathons that year. So we were in a very, very fit, you know, physical health driven, goal driven mentality. But it's easy to have the shift. Naturally, women are going to put on weight. They're carrying a baby over 9 months, so your lifestyle changes heavily. But for me, I found I was carrying those excuses as well, which was totally unnecessary for me to be doing. But it's easy to fall into that. And then the recovery is going to take time, especially for your wife, and it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to shift back into whatever physical state you were before. But I see how the reverse of my expectation could happen, where you could be like, it's harder than ever to get into a physical and healthy state because I've been through such a massive lifestyle shift, and my priorities are now focused onto like them, and it's no longer me. So I can see that reverse. It's just hit me differently. So for me, it's him. I got to be here for him. Like, I got to be strong. I'll be able to lift him as long as he can. You know, I'm not gonna exclude him from being able to do things because my inability to physically do it. And then also the longevity health part, I want to be here and I want to watch him grow up as long as I possibly can. Expectations versus reality of being a new parent, part 5 was thinking that you know what your parenting style is going to be. If the noise in the background is my dog doing some enrichment, by the way. But your parenting style, it definitely takes time to develop. So I think it's always a good practice before you have a baby, or even if you are a parent, is to think about like what type of morals and what you want to pass on to your kid. And you're kind of going to try to put your parenting style around what encourages those principles and morals to grow. But you don't really know how you're going to act in a situation until you're faced with the situation. And depending on your mood, your energy, so many different factors, your response is going to differ and it's going to change. So you can't expect yourself, or I'm finding that the reality of the situation is, you can't expect yourself to behave or parent in a certain style all the time. It's going to change on situational, mood, circumstance, location, what time of the day it is, like so many things that you start to realize it plays in a part of how you show up as a parent. I guess the good general guide is to focus and keep in mind what your morals actually are. So part of my expectation was that I'm going to approach things like this. As long as you go back to that, I think is a good kind of way to think about it, because as long as you don't go away because you're in a certain situation, mood, whatever it is, as long as you come back to this parenting style, and then you can go to the other side, you can go to the extreme of being like the best parent that you think that you can be, and then some days you just go back to just making sure you're aligned with your moral compass and who you want to raise, and then sometimes it's going to go the other way, and that's fine. And you just have to be very adaptable and flexible as a parent, is what I'm starting to realize. And your parenting style it's going to depend on so many things. So it's easy to be hard on yourself and be like, I'm not showing up today, I'm not present, I'm not inducing what I want in my kids to grow up with their values. Like, I think screen time's an easy one. We try as hard as we can not to do any screen time, but we also give ourselves some weekly screen time just to unwind, just to relax, to not think about anything and switch off for a few hours a week. And, you know, if baby gets some glimpses here and there, like it's something we're okay with, because we're reading to him every day. Like, we have a shared family book. He has all his children's books. He sees us reading. So we're so heavily on one side with like how we show up with the, like, books is something that we value and we want to pass on to our kid. But then, you know, a few hours a week of some unintentional screen time is fine. Like, so finding that balance and being like, I'm not going to be so black and white, but I'm going to allow the shade of grey I want to be the most consistent and average that you show up as. And that's just a reality of parenting. Is
it's quite a fluid and flexible practice, or I don't know, what would you call parenting? A lifestyle. It's a life now that you live, is you now have kids and you're now going to like live in the memory of your kids as mum or dad. So how you show up as that is going to be primarily like where you are most of the time, and it's okay to be black and white sometimes, but as long as we come back to there, it's kind of where I've set on. Okay, so there's some expectations versus reality as a parent that kind of really took me off guard. There's so many more things that I expected, and the reality of is completely different. But I'd really love to hear what you felt and what was some reality kind of shifts or reality, I guess, hits. Sometimes they're unexpected, that you faced as a parent. So I'd be really interested to see. They're my takes. I can see how some people might see it the other way, and it's a part of parenting is we all have our own style and we all have our own morals and goals and how we want to raise kids and show up as parents. But yeah, I'd love to hear your take. If you got any value out of this, I'd appreciate you to like and subscribe. And I'm going to finish my coffee off now.